Welcome everyone. Glad everyone is here. Appreciate your attendance. First, the roll call, please.
Sure. Mayor Curley?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks?
Here.
Alderperson Berry?
Here.
Blackwell? Here. Dunn? Here. Noes?
Here.
Mathis?
Here.
7 present.
All right, we have a quorum, so we will proceed. We're very pleased that Reverend Tim McGee is with us this evening. Ask Reverend McGee to step to the podium and offer our invocation. Ask everyone to please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend McGee, please.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, we pause to remember our veterans on this Veterans Day. We thank you for their service. We thank you for their sacrifice. And on this day, that we think about the men and women who have sacrificed and are sacrificing their life for us. May we not fail to think about the greatest sacrifice of all, your Son, Jesus Christ. We pray for wisdom, discernment, as the city does business tonight. We pray that you will preside over this meeting. We pray for the citizens of this wonderful city, and we pray your blessings upon Tullahoma and all of its residents. We pray for your guidance, your direction. We pray for our country, likewise, in the same manner. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor McGee. Appreciate you. Okay, we're very pleased to recognize several people in the audience tonight that have represented their community so well. We're proud of them. So I'm going to defer to Ms. Dunn and recognize a young person in the audience.
Sure. Well, I've got my kids all are, they've got their hunting and fishing licenses, so they get this magazine that comes once a month, and I'm the only person in the house, I think, that reads it. But it's really nice. It's a great magazine, and I saw this young lady in the back. It says Tullahoma's Ashley Scott, and it was telling about her achievements. Is Ashley here?
Yes, she is right here in the front row.
Do you want to come and talk about what you did this year?
Just step there at the podium if you would. Yeah, welcome.
Last year in May, I went to the national. Last year in May, I went to the national tournament in Kentucky, and I got first place with a 295 out of 300.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So how far away do you have to stand?
You shoot 15 arrows from 10 meters, and then you shoot 15 more arrows from 15 meters.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's okay. I've got some apples, and Mayor Curley. But well, we are very proud of you. Thank you very much for representing the city of Tullahoma so well on the national stage. Do you have some other people here who want to talk about you at all? I see Dr. Dillahay's here.
Super proud.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Mom, super proud mom.
Yeah.
She is a 5-time state champion in Tennessee. She has the national award. and she is the champion overall between elementary, middle school, and high school girls. She got the top honors for that as well.
That's amazing.
And she also shoots 3D with Taylor's Archery, so she's actually on 2 teams. And she has achieved the national level with Taylor's Archery as well as with NASP.
Wow, that's very awesome.
So she has excelled very well. She's been doing this since 3rd grade, and she's in 8th grade this year.
Now, who's been coaching you this whole time?
Jeff Hale.
Okay. Very
Jeff Hill does it at the school, and then Josh Harris
Yeah.
over at Taylor's. So
Wow.
very proud parents.
Yes, I would say so.
Thank you so much.
So
Do you
actually-
think you could shoot the apple off his head?
I'm gonna put
So, Ashley, if you would step to the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. So we're also pleased to recognize tonight a young man. Isaac Lee has been a registered swimmer with USA Swim since he was 5 years old. He is currently 13 years old. Isaac, if you would step to the podium. Competes on the gold team of the Manchester, is it Maco's? Maco's Southeastern team. At a recent USA sanctioned swim meet in Huntsville, Alabama, he swam record-breaking swims, 9 minutes, 43.04 seconds in the 1,000 freestyle, placing him first place among all current 13-year-olds in the nation. Let's see, is this 1 minute 58 seconds? For the 200 fly?
Yes, sir.
Good grief. And 1 minute 47.75 in the 200 freestyle, placing him second in the nation among all 13-year-olds. Isaac Lee has been nationally ranked in various events since he was 11. His coach is Sean Daniels of Tullahoma. Good grief. So congratulations. We're proud of you. Tell us how you've accomplished what you've accomplished so far and what your plans are.
Well, first of all, I've been working hard for since I was 10 to accomplish this. I actually was not a good swimmer very young, like 9 to 10, but I work about 2 hours a day. My mom is my dry lands coach over there because we have to work out of water too to enhance our strength, and we do about 2 hours, do about 6,000 yards, except in the summer, and which we double up every day now, except for Saturday. And I have my coach, Sean Daniels. She's a very great coach. Coached me very well. She's actually been to the Olympics herself back in Seoul, Korea. And my best races are the 1650, the mile swim, which I have not swam yet in this current season, and the 200 fly and the 400 IM. That 200 fly is 158, and the 400 IM I have not swam yet either. So I need to, my next meet is in December at Nashville in Innsworth. And that's about all I can think of right now.
So where do you plan to take this skill in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, Division I swimming would be very, very good goal that I'm shooting for right now. People, they often come to me talking about the Olympics, but honestly, right now, I think that's just a nice thought, a nice goal for the future. I'm not expecting way too much, because right now, anything could happen. We still got 5 years until I should even think about that, so.
Well, that's pretty remarkable that that's even part of your vocabulary. When I was your age, my only concern was what was for supper that night. I guess, that you're thinking like that. So, introduce your family.
That's my mom, the dryland coach. My sister Lauren, she also swims. Jacob also swims. That's my Aunt Christy. She's a music teacher in Manchester. That's my dad.
Yep.
His dad. That's all my cousins down there. I forget their names. My Aunt Karen.
So we've got some engineers in the room. You said 6,000 yards you do twice on Saturdays.
No, I do. I usually, that's in the summer, which I do on Monday. Tuesday is interesting because I have to go up to Nashville in the morning to do meters, which is, well, it's longer than yards, but, and it's Olympic-sized pool in Nashville, which ends up to being about 6,000. So that's in the summer, but in winter we can't do that because we got school.
Yeah.
And
so 6,000 yards. Somebody help me out. How many yards are in a mile? Like about
280. Or is that
that's
feet?
So there'd be about 1,700. So you're telling me that 6,000 divided by 1,700 is about 4 miles?
yes, sir.
Wow, that's very impressive. So, any other questions or comments?
Some of us up here are old enough that we did have a 50-meter outdoor pool
Yeah, we
at one
did.
time, and we swam in that 50-meter pool.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved for swimming for a long time, and forever, and your accomplishments are very good.
Thank you.
We've had a swim club in the Tullahoma area since 1959. Tullahoma Swim Club is still in existence. I know you're over with the Makos at the competition, but that's okay. As long as you're swimming in the pool,
Yep.
that's important. But keep at it. It's a good sport. It's low impact. It can eat you out of house and home too.
Yeah.
Can't keep them fed. How many underwaters can you do?
How many underwaters?
That was a Mandy Isles thing, which you would make after practice swim underwater. You'd have to
Yeah.
probably a bunch.
I don't know. We don't swim. Well, we do focus on underwaters a lot because that's a really big thing nowadays because.
To kick out.
Yeah, to kick out because they used to focus on just pulling a lot and your arms, but now with all the current Olympians, they're kicking almost the entire length of the pool as much as they can without getting disqualified. But I've gone. Trying to think.
Just picking at you.
I'm trying to think of an isolated incident where I did that, but the only time I can think of was when I went to Florida, but this was with fins. I did Olympic-sized pool. I went past. Dang, I can't remember how far I went. I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Lee, we're very pleased to present you with a certificate recognizing you for 2019 first place National 1,000 meter freestyle, 2019 second place National 200 meter freestyle, 2019 second place National 200 meter butterfly. An exceptional Tullahoma athlete, Isaac Lee, has been competing and ranking since the age of 11. Now at age 13 is a member of the local team Manchester Makos and a member of the USA Swimming, the national governing body for the sport of swimming in the United States. Isaac is nationally recognized in 3 swimming categories: 1,000-meter freestyle, 200-meter freestyle, and 200-meter butterfly. Congratulations on these outstanding achievements.
That's kind of weird that you break it up, the competition. Like, why is
Well, they may not have that event at that meet. He'll swim, this is short goal season right now. He wouldn't swim 1,000 and a 1650 the same meet.
It'd be too much.
Yeah.
That's what I separate. You probably, they could probably have it on Sunday. They chose not to.
Right.
So we have another outstanding young person with us tonight, in addition, of course, to the other young people that are here. Miss Casey Kidd is our honorary alderman tonight. She's quite an accomplished young lady. She has a 4.6 GPA. I don't know how that works, but anyway, very impressive. She's ranked 5th in her class. She is taking AP Calculus, AP English Language and Composition, AP Microeconomics, AP United States History. She will graduate with honors and distinction this year. She is a member of Volunteer Girl State. She has earned the Veterans of Foreign War Voice of Democracy Essay Contest, Achievement in Physics Departmental Award, Freshman Honors Choir, a very versatile young lady. AP Scholar with honors. She's been active in South Jackson Civic Center, New Alpha Theta, Girls Coding Club, Speech and Debate Team, Student Council, National Honor Society, THS Math Team, Tullahoma High School Aristocats, Mayor's Youth Council. Ladies and gentlemen, that's one page. There's another page. So, welcome, Ms. Kidd. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, well, I've lived in Tullahoma my whole life. My family has been here for as long as I can remember. My mom's in the audience right there. There's my dad. My brother, you may know him from his many odd jobs. He does lights at South Jackson and stuff like that. I don't know. I really enjoy participating in, like you said, a variety of different things. I have applied to a number of colleges, but my number one goal is to attend Vanderbilt University next year. And I hope to major in computer science, but continue political science and Spanish. And I don't know. I just like learning.
Hopefully that's a lifelong skill. Learning is very important. So not only do you participate, but she's also does it at a very high level as well. So glad you're here, and I look forward to hearing more about your career and your work as you go forward. So if you would stand at your desk there, Casey, we've got a certificate recognizing you as the honorary alderman tonight.
You're like Russian, does she do?
Better drill in the closet.
No.
On the light.
Okay, I want to recognize Ms. Moody at the podium for certificate of recognition as well.
Thank you. As usual, once a month, we like to recognize a city employee for their outstanding achievements and how they demonstrate the values of our organization. And tonight, I'm honored to do this for an employee with our Public Works Department. And I'm going to go ahead and read, John West is here, but our director, Butch Taylor, he couldn't be here tonight. So I'm going to read why he was nominated. Nick is our recycling foreman. He's been in that position since January. Originally, he had filled in on an interim basis, and I think they saw how productive he was, what a hard worker he was, and he was quickly promoted. He takes his responsibility very seriously and is always very diligent about the materials coming in. I'm sure you can appreciate that even in this, at these times when it's difficult to get rid of recyclables, Tullahoma has a reputation for having very clean materials, and so we're able to find places willing to accept our items when they maybe won't accept other communities' items. And so we can thank Nick directly for that.
That passes the online and mobile.
Sorry, Jennifer.
It's okay. So directly, he makes an impact on producing a product that we're able to sell. And since the price of recycling materials continues to decrease, this is even more and more critical. He does a great job also supervising employees in what can sometimes be unpleasant working conditions. I'm sure if you've been out there in some of the 90-degree weather we've had in the past, you could understand that. He's also a very good steward of the recycling equipment. So we have a baler that can certainly break if it's pushed too far, and it said that he's very diligent, checking it on a daily basis and always working to get the parts that we need to keep it operating so we don't fall behind. So Nick, if you will come up here, I want to thank you for your service to Tullahoma and for being such a great example of a city employee.
Most of all, I just want to thank God. Without God, nothing is possible. And I also want to thank Ms. Costa, John, and Butch for actually giving me a chance to work with them. There was one point where I never worked at the city, and I had the opportunity and I blew it. Well, they were gracious enough to give me a second opportunity, and I'm just here to do the best I can with the opportunity that I have. So I thank them for everything. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. Thank you, Ms. Moody.
If I might say, I was at the recycling center today, and I was commenting on how nice that Nick is taking care of that, and I even bragged on him to Miss Jackie, too. I mean, he just does a great job. He always does. So he's always real pleasant to be around. Just thank you for your service, Nick. We appreciate you.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Okay, ready? Any comments from anyone in the audience? Seeing none, we will proceed. We're ready for Alderman reports. Mr. Mathis, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity today to attend the Veterans event at East Middle. It was packed to the rim, very, very, very receptive and very, very nice. I know our ROTC group, our Marine group, they were involved in it. A lot of people were there. A lot of veterans showed up. They did a good job singing and all of this. It was really, really good. So I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. Do we have any veterans in the audience? I know Mr. Worsham is. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Worsham. Thank you, Mr. Mathis. Mr. Berry.
First, I gotta say, all these young ones we have here make me feel so unaccomplished. Like it's amazing that we're surrounded with this here in our community. I think it's a testament to the community as a whole. I held a town hall last week on bullying. It was the second round. We extended the conflict into bullying, or discussion into bullying and conflict. Dr. Shannon Duncan attended. I call her Brindley, attended. She's the, I think, Director of Student Support Services at Tullahoma City Schools. And she gave a presentation, and that is available on Facebook. We recorded that and put it up there. It was, I want to thank her for taking the time out to come. I know she was shuffling kids between soccer practice and a couple of things, so it was great. Canceling the town hall for tomorrow. I believe we're going to have some bad weather. Also, there's a county commission meeting tomorrow night that encourage, if the weather's not too awful, people to attend. I can fit 3 in my car, so if anybody wants to carpool up there. I'm going up. We've got a special call meeting tomorrow for the Consolidated Communications Center. Trying to get something on the agenda for tomorrow evening's commission meeting. Today I got to go from event to event, and the veterans started with the Veterans Day ceremony at South Jackson Civic Center, which you kind of got started years ago, and it was amazing. It's continued to grow. Mr. Winston, I believe, played a big part in helping to get that organized. There were numerous hair-raising moments, and it was just inspiring. Our 3 centenarians were there, which is just amazing that we have them in our community. Mr. Glenn, if you've never sat and talked with him, spend the time, take the time to do it. Went to Farrah's after that, and that was, the whole event was amazing, but I think my favorite part was listening to them talk about why they love America. And they talked about the democracy and their freedom to speak, and it was pretty inspiring to hear them talk about it. I do want to thank the veterans that we have out there, those watching, and the ones that you guys are the reason that we can do what we have to do today. One last thing, and it's something I just want to kind of, actually I was asked, this is two things, sorry, I'm going to take it to 0. 2 things. I was asked, and Ms. Rupa, or Alderman Blackwell, I believe, is going to attend, but I was asked to invite the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to an HOA meeting at Jennings Point Thursday at 6 o'clock. They wanted to have a casual conversation. Anybody that can make it, and invited us and the city administrator and anybody in the city that would like to attend that meeting. And one last thing, I would just kind of like to, I think we've all probably gotten calls about this all day long, and I know it's something that's extremely important to you, Mr. Mayor. I've gotten a couple sitting here, even without my phone, it comes to my watch. I'd like to ask the board to make it a priority to looking at our sidewalks here in the city, and charge the city with a plan for where we don't have them, the ones that are broken, let's get them fixed, and make sure that we have the money, which we do. And that is it.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Ms. Blackwell.
This morning was fabulous at South Jackson. I'd never been to it before, and it was awe-inspiring, to say the least. And the bagpipes were amazing, and my son did not wake up for them, which was a surprise. I also attended a Board of Education meeting about a week and a half ago, or a week ago, and those are always really fast. But what I stayed for was a study session, and I came out of there just really thankful that I got to attend our city school system. And it's very clear to me that our educators now are so clearly invested in our students. So it was just really great to hear, great to listen, see what they're working on, and just excited to see what happens and have my kids in our school system.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Ms. Blanks.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody that participated and logistically got everything together for the veterans ceremonies today. I got held up at the office and was not able to attend. I did go by the Veterans Park downtown Saturday to look at the bricks, and if you get a chance to do that, go by and read some of the names that are there that have been honored. And there were some people there that I didn't know had served. It was very touching. We have a brick there in my father-in-law's name. He was in the Air Force, so we went by to check that out to make sure they spelled his last name correctly, and they did. But that was on me because I filled out the form. And they could read my writing. But thank you, veterans, for what all you've done for us. Sometimes that's a forgotten people that we need to recognize. On to something else, TUA is about 80% done with the water line rehab project on Wilson Avenue. So I know if you travel out that way, you'll have seen that. It's nearly done. It's coming to an end. Also, we're up plus 16 on light tube subscribers, and we now sit at 3888, well on our way to 4,000, which was our goal. So, you know, if you're having trouble finding a provider, we have a local fiber to the premises here with a lot of speed and great customer service. So think about it if you need it. That's all I have there.
Thank you.
One last thing
Sure.
I about forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Coming to see now. Shop Tullahoma. This is becoming Christmas season.
Yep.
And Thanksgiving. Buy your turkeys locally.
Good advice.
There's a joke there.
It's done.
Yes, okay, so well, we're about halfway through the flag football season right now, so I've got a favorite team, and they're the Kansas City Chiefs. I've got 2 players on that team. And I just wanted to extend a thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department. That is so much fun watching those kids go up and down the field, and my 2 in particular, I've noticed a lot of maturing. Well, from one, the other one, there's been a lot of tears. But anyway, I just want to say thank you, Colton and Lyle both, and it's just been really, really nice to be able to participate in that. And I want to say thank you to our veterans. It's unbelievable to be able to live in a country where it's so easy to take things for granted. But I'm very thankful that we've had so many serve. And if anybody's interested in joining us, the Go Green meetings are on Mondays, the first Monday of each month at 5 o'clock. And Miss Moody happened to come into the last one. We've been talking about putting in a rain garden somewhere in town. So more on that later. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Norris, please, sir.
Yes, Mayor. Too attended the South Jackson today, and it was a memorial. The Veterans Day there was very, very good. Thank you for continuing to push that and make it that quality event that it is. I'll take a page from former Alderman Jackie Duncan and tell you something that our church did yesterday. We did a work day. We fed people lunch, and then we put on vests and we went out and worked, cleaning up streets. The group that I was with, 10 of us, went to the area where we've talked about, the Silver Street Park. That park is between Silver and Freeman Street. We cleaned up all the trash on both of those streets and the connector streets that go by that park. And just spending a couple of hours out there doing that in that area where we have the foresight now to look at doing a park there, it made me want to see that park come to fruition. And if we do it quickly, it will be before it gets trashed again. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Kidd, anything you'd like to report? Any activities?
Okay, I think I have 4 things. So, what order do I start in? Okay, so, as I was a delegate at the American Legion Auxiliaries Volunteer Girls State this past summer, every year they encourage people, the week of Veterans Week, it's ALA VGS Week of Service. So myself and my fellow delegates, Sarah Glutch and Haley Roberts, we are encouraging people to go out and volunteer in their community, do something good, even if it's just small this week. So that's going on. Next thing, I saw Spam a lot at South Jackson this past weekend. I was actually an usher for it. That was a lot of fun. Really support the arts. They're always incredible every time they do stuff. And not this weekend, but the next weekend, something new we have this year, our homeschool group is putting on a show, High School Musical Junior. So that will be next Friday and Saturday. If you would like to go check that out, support them. I'm really glad this is happening. And the last thing, I'm pretty sure this Saturday the Marine Corps JROTC is having their ball. I don't know if that's something you're aware of, but it's just really nice to go and have fun there.
It's very nice. Yeah.
That's all I have.
Good. Well, thank you, Ms. Kidd. Appreciate you being here tonight. Yep. Okay, ready for our city attorney's report. Mr. Worsham, please, sir.
The county had scheduled a delinquent property tax sale last week, and they didn't have it because everyone paid their taxes, which is encouragement to us as we're moving forward now with the work that we'll need to do in order to have a delinquent property tax sale for the city of Tullahoma. We were waiting for that tax sale to transpire because customarily the county collects the city taxes on the property that is sold at those tax sales. So we didn't get any tax money, but we're beginning to work on ours now, and it'll come sometime in the spring. We're working with the Public Works Department to finalize the legal work relative to acquiring the rights-of-way necessary to complete the East Grundy Street sidewalk project, and there are others that we're thinking about as well. I did attend the memorial service today, or the Veterans Memorial Service today, in spirit, but not in fact, because being on the cutting edge of time, I got down there about 10 till 11, and there were absolutely no parking places anywhere, so I didn't go. But I saw the program, and I'm sure it was a wonderful event. One other thing, I probably told you before, pardon me, that an owner of property in downtown Tullahoma has offered to donate that property to the city, and we're working now with them relative to an appraisal of it. Hopefully we'll have that completed soon, and we'll go ahead and acquire that property. I'll let you know at the next board meeting if that's transpired. Hopefully it will. Do you have any questions? One other thing, I'm sorry I don't know the date, but watch for the publicity for this. The Community Pride Foundation will have its annual Christmas tree lighting of the George Orr Christmas tree in Memorial or Caboose Park, where the Veterans Memorial was honored and established today. And I believe it's going to be the Saturday at 4:30, the Saturday before Thanksgiving. But there'll be some publicity in the newspaper and also in the website about that sort of thing too. All of you all are invited to that. I'm sure the mayor will attend as he usually does. And so we're looking forward to that. Happy Thanksgiving to all y'all. We'll see you next month. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Worsham. Ms. Moody.
Good evening. I have several things to update you on. First, I want to say congratulations to some of our staff, Jeff Wilson with the animal shelter and Winston Brooks and all the volunteers that supported Bark in the Park. We had a really large turnout for that event, a really successful event. Also, we wrapped up the farmers market season. In total, I think we had 45 vendors interested in supporting that market. On any given day, I think we had it more like an average of 15 to 30 vendors. And we have at least 30 vendors that are interested in participating next year. So between now and next May, we'll continue planning and working with a small board of some of the market vendors have stepped up and they formed a board. We have 2 co-managers, David Clark and Lynn Atelski, that are willing to continue serving in that capacity and managing the market. And we are seeking some grants to support promotions and marketing of it. So for something that I think just kind of started as a little bit of a dream in a parking lot, it has really grown and taken off. So I've been really impressed to watch it. Third, we had a public meeting on our Americans with Disability Act transition plan. So as you know, every jurisdiction, county, city, we're all working towards a federal mandated deadline to have a plan together by December 31st. And tonight we have a study session on that, so I won't go into a lot of detail. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of the citizens that came out. We had a public meeting. Sometimes you have no idea if anyone will show up, and we had a room full. So we got great input and some connections, and also got to know some groups that are out there that we can reach out to in the future to see how we're doing. So that was good. I want to give you an update on a couple of projects. We have this Thursday, we'll be opening bids on our second phase of our police building project, and hoping to bring you December 9th at that board meeting a recommendation for a construction management firm so we can move forward. We have 5 firms that are actively interested in bidding the project. So we're having that. November 21st, we'll be opening bids on the CD Stamps roof replacement project. So if you know anybody, please encourage them to put in for that project. And then we're also soliciting proposals for financial services. Sue Wilson has been looking at if we have an opportunity to refinance some of our debt and have some savings, and we'll need a financial advisor to assist us if we decide to do that. Also, I will mention our police department. You may see some of them with more facial hair than you typically see. This is No Shave November, and so they are participating in raising money for charities and raising awareness about American Cancer Society. And if you want to participate, see Chief Williams. And then the last I will mention, we've been very busy, Winston Brooks and myself, working with Tom Robinson and the TAEDC board on a couple of initiatives. As you know, the mayor's initiative this year is that we position Tullahoma as the best place for somebody to open a business. And so it's been interesting. Seems like stars are aligning. We have the state ECD that's offering workshops on how to put together an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And specifically, they're piloting this in South Central Tennessee. And so we've been honored to participate in that. Next week, I'll go to the second of 4 workshops on that topic. So we'll keep participating in training. And we are hoping to be selected as one of the 4 pilot communities that will come out of this and be offered a $100,000 grant to support development of a co-working space. So we'll keep you posted on that. At the same time, TVA has just announced a program called the TVA Innovation Academy, which has very similar goals to helping support entrepreneurs in rural areas. And so Tom Robinson and Winston Brooks are working on that application that I believe is due this Friday, where we will need to send 3 community champions to attend 4 workshops. At the end of those workshops, you'll be asked to give a pitch in front of funders, and whatever your innovative project is, they'll be looking to fund it. So it's pretty exciting. I think we kind of put out in the universe that we want to do this, and we're getting a lot back.
That's awesome.
So that's my report.
Thank you.
I read in the department reports, we've got a 16-year veteran moving on us. So I want to say thank you to.
We do. Thank you for mentioning that. In our criminal investigations division, Sergeant Harry Conway announced his retirement from our department. He's not retiring from work, though. He's actually getting to fulfill a lifelong dream to go work in Alaska. And so, yes, I believe, I'll get it wrong if I try to say it, but I believe he's working for a state department in Alaska and wants to work and then retire again and live in Alaska. So he will be missed.
I gotta say, my 5-year-old is participating in No Shave November. I don't know how he knows that. It's not going very well, but anyway, he's trying. So.
It's some moral support.
Yeah.
Not shaved since last November.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moon, for your report. Next, we have 2 items on the consent agenda: 19-153 minutes of October 28th regular meeting, 19-154 set a public hearing for December 9th on a request for surplus city right-of-way at 114 South Maple Street. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Proper motion by Dr. Blanks.
Second.
Second by Mr. Noes. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Moody, any other old business?
No.
All right. We have several items of new business. First, resolution number 1818, adopt the Coffee County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Let me get a motion in a second, and I'll defer to Ms. Moody for an explanation.
Motion.
Second.
Proper motion by Ms. Blackwell, seconded by Mr. Berry.
Yes, and unfortunately, Alan Lindley sends his regrets tonight. He intended to be here and give a brief presentation about this, but unexpectedly, a family matter is keeping him away. I have provided some information in your packet. The hazard mitigation plan is something that we did already have in place. It is, it identifies hazards in the community, things like natural disasters, tornadoes, wind events, flooding, and puts a plan together to how the community should address those things and proactively help to reduce the risk to property and loss of life in our community. And that's something that Alan Lindley, who's the director of our county emergency management agency, he's charged with that. And we adopt the plan, the same plan, Tullahoma, Manchester, and Coffee County. So all of us will adopt the same one by resolution, and it's updated every 5 years. And so this is something that his staff has done. They've updated it. They've sent it in to FEMA. It's been reviewed and approved by FEMA for adoption. And so that's why it's before you tonight.
Thank you for the explanation. Do we want to go ahead and vote tonight and ask Mr. Lindley to come at a future meeting?
Sure.
Hear this? Is everybody comfortable with voting, or would you prefer to wait?
I would make a motion we defer, just 'cause I don't want to vote on something I haven't read, even
Sure.
though it's been.
All right. Any objection that we carry this over to the next meeting? Everybody okay with that? All right, so we have a motion to defer. Is there a second to defer?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Mathis, or second by Mr. Mathis. All those in favor of the deferral motion until the first available time Mr. Lindley is available, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Berry. Ordinance number 1530, an ordinance to amend Title 16, Streets and Sidewalks, etc., by amending Chapter 5, Street Curves and Sidewalk Design Standards and Specifications of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee, adopt on the first of 2 readings and set a public hearing for Monday, December the 9th. Again, let me get a motion in a second. I'll refer to Ms. Moody for any explanation if any is necessary.
Motion approved.
Motion by Dr. Blank.
Second.
Second by Ms. Blackwell. Anything that you need to add to what's already in here? Any specific questions anyone has? This is just your first shot at it. We'll have a public hearing at the next meeting and vote on the second reading at the next meeting as well.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a couple quick questions,
Sure.
if that's all right. And I guess Butch isn't here, so maybe we can talk, but just a question on like the 16 foot, and then it talks about, that's a minimum, I'm sorry, page 54, section 3C, your third bullet point there. Revisions clarify on the new residential driveways, the length of driveway culvert shall be determined by the Public Works Department, but a minimum length of 16 foot. Maybe some clarification on what criteria they'd be using to determine outside of the 16 foot. I know that we don't. I don't think we have that problem. A problem with kind of arbitrary, but I'd like to see maybe some. We tell this guy 18 foot and this guy 16 foot. Do we have some sort of process to determine?
Ms. Moody, I don't expect you to know that off the top of your head. Do you want to get back with Mr. Berry on that answer and give us the answer at the next meeting?
We do have John West here.
Sure.
He's our
But
superintendent in public works and could probably,
Yeah,
do you
I think
understand
I
the
can
question?
cover the
Will
line.
you go to the podium?
Currently, the minimum, I think, in the text is 10 feet, which is very rarely ever done. This is just increasing the minimum to 16 feet. And if I'm not mistaken, the maximum right now for a residential culvert is 26 feet. Beyond 26 feet, you get to a point where items get stuck in the middle of it. It's difficult to keep those clean, so it's just increasing the minimum at this point. The maximum width of 26 feet for residential would stay the same.
What would be a case where we extended? Say we said you need to go 20 foot.
Beyond 26 feet, we don't allow that on the residential. You can actually have 2 different culverts depending on the road frontage on the particular lot. And I'm thinking it's 149 feet or more. You can have 2 entrances like that at a maximum of 26 feet. So this would just limit the minimum.
or increase them, rather.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm really excited to see about the regulation of having the concrete or the asphalt at the very end, because I know whenever I'm walking and I see in our open ditches, a lot of times you do see a lot of gravel, and that's something this is going to help to keep us from having so much flooding. Is that correct?
Right.
It is a water quality improvement and also a maintenance improvement, because as you know, we have a very limited budget for street sweeping. And a lot of the gravel from driveways, if we don't have that asphalt or concrete apron, then the gravel's just rushing into the alley or the road.
Safety
for
bikers,
cyclists.
motorcycles.
So this is a great improvement. I'm glad to see that.
And I will say, in our new development, it has not been a requirement previously, but in our new developments, it is a standard that's expected. And so anything that's been developed recently, the developers have put it in that way.
Yeah.
This will help us in terms of kind of a redevelopment. As we approve future projects, hopefully they'll be required to go back and we would love to see the entire driveway be a paved surface, but at a minimum, we're asking that this apron be a paved surface.
That right-of-way section.
Yeah, that right.
It would keep a lot of sediment out of the ditches and out of the street. Along those lines, the head wall change that's also addressed in here. Currently, it's a requirement to have head walls at the end of those culverts to help retain some of the sediment and gravel. If it's 18 inches or above, this would require those head walls on all culverts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're good? So we have a motion and a second. This is the first of two readings of the public hearing at the next meeting. All those in favor of the motion as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 7-0. Agenda item 19-155, approve a professional services agreement with Lowe's Design in the amount of $39,750 and authorize capital project funds in the total amount of $305,000 for construction of phase 1 of the master plan of the new park at Silver Street. So you already I think it was the last meeting, we heard that presentation, saw the slides. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 19-155?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Noah's motion and this done second. Any discussion?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. We're pulling from unused capital project funds, correct? Which category are we pulling that from? I see you got the Exhibit A back here. Which, on page 102.
Page 102 is our capital projects fund, and so we are not moving anything in or out of the fund, but you're right, we are moving money within the fund from contingency, which is an unobligated amount of money, into a project line.
Good question, thank you. We ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 7-0. And if no other business, we will adjourn and go into the beer board portion of the agenda. We have one consent agenda item, 19BB41, minutes of October 20th beer board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
I heard a chorus of motions. Ms. Blackwell, motion, and then who about Mr. Mathis, second. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, vote green. Opposed, vote red. Motion passes 7-0. So, Ms. Moody, we'll adjourn the beer board portion and go into the board study session item. So I'll defer to Ms. Moody for an explanation and get us started.
Yes, so as we're nearing completion of our transition plan, which is meant to address any deficiencies that we see in our public facilities or our public infrastructure, to ensure that we are making all of those facilities accessible to all. I thought that this was a good time to invite our city engineer, Scott St. John, to give a presentation and just go over with you what is this plan, why is it required, I wanted him to describe the process that we've used to develop the plan, and then also give you an overview of what he's found. So the plan that he's putting together, at our direction, I've asked him to put it over a 15-year timeline, and you'll see some numbers tonight that I think will be very eye-opening as to the preliminary cost of the deficiencies, correcting the deficiencies. So I'll turn over to Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. So, again, we're going to discuss the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Transition Plan Self-Evaluation. What is the plan? Why are we here? Are two good questions. Let me give a little bit of history. So, in 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was approved by Congress and put into place. And in that time frame, there was a requirement in the plan for municipalities to perform a self-evaluation, prepare a transition plan that identified what measures they need to take to get their infrastructure and public facilities into compliance with that plan. And that in 1990, 1991, and in the preceding years, that requirement was not enforced by the Department of Justice. So now we are, we are almost 30 years later, and in 2016, the Federal Highways Administration gave notice to the Departments of Transportation at the state levels that they were going to enforce that a transition plan be developed. So FHWA put notice to the states to require these evaluations, and so immediately FHWA gave letter, then the Department of Transportation, Tennessee Department of Transportation, sent notices to the cities that they had to evaluate, come into compliance, prepare their ADA transition plans and self-evaluations. So from a letter that came down from TDOT in 2016, it outlined the requirements and the milestones to get to the point that we are at today. So in December 16th, again, notice of communities with 50 or more employees had to go through this exercise and develop an ADA transition plan, appoint an ADA coordinator, prepare a grievance procedure that outlined to citizens what is the process if you know of facilities that are not into compliance with the ADA regulations, that there would be a procedure put into place to voice their concerns and then follow through to get corrective measures in place. In December 2017, the communities had to self-report back to TDOT and state where their progress was in developing the transition plan. In September 2018, this communities had to have completed their self-evaluations. The self-evaluation is pretty much as it states. The communities such as Tullahoma had to go and do inspections on all of their public right-of-ways, all their public facilities, and determine and identify any facilities and measures that were out of compliance with the ADA Act. December 2019, which is where we are about to be, the transition plans must be complete and be forwarded on to TDOT to be in compliance. So what has the city been doing on the last 3 years? They've been very busy in performing self-evaluations of the facilities, buildings, parks, things you would not think about, such as websites, policies and programs. And let me back up just a bit. In 2016, 2017 timeframe, the city appointed Costa Bryce, the ADA coordinator, and she prepared and developed the grievance procedures that we mentioned, that set it in place, looking at the policies and programs, hiring, firing practices, a number of features that had to be evaluated. Is not just going and looking at public sidewalks, curb ramps, crosswalks. So again, all municipal buildings and facilities such as the parks were inspected. Here's the list of 21 items, and These are the public buildings, facilities, parks, greenway features. The last item is sidewalks, curb ramps, crosswalks. So that last item is a big item that the Public Works Department, they had to go out, evaluate, identify all of the problems in the roughly 35 miles of public sidewalks that we have here in the right-of-ways. So they've been working hard on that for the last couple of years, and I'll show you the document, but there is just much documentation related to those inspection procedures. This is a kind of an overview from Tennessee Department of Transportation on the transition plan. The main thing is the steps to compliance. So TDOT has had a number of training sessions that Public Works Department, myself, have attended over the last 3 years related to training to get into compliance and be ready to develop this transition plan. But what has been enforced is the steps to compliance. So, for example, item 1 here in the center is what we're looking at, designate an ADA coordinator. That has been done by appointing Ms. Costa-Bryce, providing public notices, which I'll mention here in a minute about some of the public input session that the city had, establishing a grievance procedure. That procedure actually was approved by resolution by this board previously, so y'all have met that requirement. Use current design standards, specifications, and details for new construction and alternatives. The city had previously adopted the International Building Code and the Chapter 11 on the accessibility requirements that put the hard, firm regulations in place. So as new projects come to the Development Review Committee on the Wednesday morning meetings, then they are made sure that they meet the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that has kind of been an automatic in the program that you have with the Development Review Committee. So we are here, development of a self-evaluation and transition plan. Again, at this point, yes, we have a draft of the plan prepared. This document does not, as I mentioned, does not contain all of the inspection forms, so it's about twice this thick in reality. So that will be going to TDOT. 6, approve a schedule and budget to implement the transition plan. So, as Ms. Moody mentioned on the front end, we have evaluated all the features. We've put cost elements in on all of the deficiency items for all the buildings, parks, public works features. We'll get to that budget here in just a second. We have developed that at this point in time. In staff discussions, we've talked through implementing that over a 15-year period, and so those cost numbers have been broken down into a 15-year item that we'll see in just a second. And then, of course, 7, monitor progress on the implementation of the transition plan. So TDOT annually wants cities to look at their transition plan, see where they are on making progress and making sure that the milestones are met that's identified in the transition plan. Just a copy of the grievance procedure that Ms. Costa has prepared and you have approved. This is a table of contents of the document that I just held up and outlines all of the elements of it. Public meeting notice. As Ms. Moody mentioned, we had a meeting last week. We had about 25 in attendance. Lasted about an hour and a half. We had great input, and it was a good meeting to hear concerns of citizens and realize that we are addressing a lot of those in the transition plan. And of course, we'll be working with them in the years to come to make sure all of their items of concerns are identified. The budget here, a little bit small, hard to read, but the bottom line related to buildings, facilities, curb ramps, sidewalks, crosswalks is $2.765 million, so $2.7 million. So that broken down over an annual basis is about $184,000 per year. TDOT has not said you have to apply $284,000 exactly on a per year basis. We just have to have a reasonable plan on how to implement the corrective measures in the plan. So we know that staff has, or Public Works, for example, has line item budgets annually on sidewalk repairs. There are grant dollars as well that go to annually to making improvements to sidewalks. So there are a number of mechanisms to fund that $184,000 or the $2.765 million. So that is the number that we are about to put into the document. Wanted input here at this session related to that before we actually finalize that. You vote on it next month at the December meeting, and then the plan as a whole would get submitted to TDOT by the end of the year. So I will back up to the budget, and I will pause and see if there are any questions, any discussions that we need to have on this.
Can we zoom in on the budget? Is that possible? I can't.
Winston has departed. I don't know that I know how to zoom in on it, but you know how?
Possibly.
Let me hand you.
Can we get electronic copies of this presentation? And is there an electronic copy of the transition plan itself that we can, I know it's huge.
I don't think so. I mean,
We
you have the.
We are finalizing it, but we have a draft PDF that we can send out. It's a lot of documentation. We can, remove some of the data if it's too large, but we can get that out.
And I would just ask that if I do provide you with a draft document, that you not circulate it until we have a final adopted document.
Since this is a federally mandated program, are there federal dollars? Okay. All right.
There are not federal dollars, but I would say, obviously, they're generous in the timeline. So we have to comply. They don't tell you how much you have to spend and when, but you have to be making some progress.
One question about, since it's a federally mandated and implemented by TDOT, and there's a guideline, there's a schedule. Does TDOT have any punitive measures if we don't comply with these dates that our self-evaluation, we're establishing the guidelines, we're establishing dates. What if we don't comply? What are the punitive measures that they'll implement?
So in the Federal Highway Administration letter and then the resulting TDOT letter, what they're doing is your next state funds, your block grant funds, your surface transportation STP funds that you may have heard in the past, they come through in a block of 4 to 5 years. So in 2020, next year, is the new allotment of the STP funds. And so that's really what they're saying is if communities don't develop their transition plan, then they will hold back those STP funds from being, donated or given to the cities for use. So all of your federal funding for transportation needs are at jeopardy if you don't comply. So right off the bat, they've listed that 2020 through 2024 STP block fund.
What I would say, one thing that is good for us about this is the state also has to comply. So when we have several state routes coming through Tullahoma, and whenever they do a state project, they will have to be brought up to meet these standards.
If the state doesn't comply, does the state not get federal funding dollars, which would trickle down to us in the community then?
Correct.
That's correct. But the state is making sure that they comply with this FHWA Act, and so that's the entire transition plan across the whole state. So they're making sure the federal funds come down to them, but then they can withhold to different communities that don't meet these transition plan development requirements.
Are you hopeful that, does this look doable? Is this something that we've got the manpower and the
I believe so.
Okay.
And because, you've talked about this some, but because the federal regulations and this requirement has been out there and we've adopted newer international building codes, and anything new that's built is already meeting this standard. So it's really a matter of going back on existing and just repairing and replacing in areas where we need to, upgrading. And I think I was surprised by the number, but I think because we can accomplish it in so many different ways. For instance, in this budget we're in right now, we had allocated, separate from the line item on sidewalks, we had a standalone line item of $50,000 dedicated towards this. So that $50,000 alone wouldn't be enough to meet the $185,000. But that's not the only source of funding, because the STP projects that we're doing are helping address some of these issues. The sidewalk money is being used whenever we're putting new sidewalks or repairing sidewalks. We're correcting these deficiencies. And so it's worked into other projects that we're doing. Another example would be, I don't know off the top of my head if our existing police department has deficiencies. I assume it does. But we're completely replacing the police department with a brand new facility that will meet all of those standards. So, yeah, I think we'll be able to meet it within 15 years.
Does this just cover our physical? That's all the state is mandatory or required is our physical, not our digital world. Yes.
Yes, but the part of one of the slides there where I showed website, so the cities have to make sure that they're working towards their ADA compliance related to all of their programs, hiring, firing, policies, website communication mechanisms, and so we've had discussions with Ms. Costa on what they're expecting on those, but most of those items that really require hard dollars are related to your infrastructure.
It's a little bit easier on a website, for instance. We typically hire a vendor to do that, and we can require it in our contract with the vendor that they provide us an ADA compliant website. But this is a little more difficult. We have to go out and actually build.
Actually do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if budget-wise, we had to include the website in this or any of our.
That's true. I don't think
It does
that's
not.
included
It's
in
not.
there.
Can I ask a question? Okay. Is this the reason why we now have those wooden ramps at the high school, so people like with disabilities can get in and not have to use the steps? Because that happened this year. We have 2 new wooden ramps.
I think ADA covers everything. I know one of the places that you can see where this is in effect probably is where the sidewalks meet the city streets, where they're, it's like
your ramps.
Ramps. And I think all new construction has to have that. And I know in Cedar Lane, they did that in the last 3 or 4 years. And of the major
And
stuff
you see
they call
the
it.
truncated domes, the yellow truncated.
Right, that touched a state route, I guess, maybe.
Yes, so for example, when TDOT came in and repaved a lot of Jackson Street, they were required to assess the curb ramps and sidewalk sections immediately at the intersections, and they had to put into their plan, their program to replace those. So they'll be spending dollars and trying to bring their facilities up, which will assist in the bottom dollar as well.
So, I guess the deliberate, are we responsible for does this include all the schools' facilities and all their buildings?
The schools,
Or is this only
the
city?
schools is actually separate. It's not a part of this. But in the Housing Authority, for example, they do their own. They're required.
If they don't do theirs, will federal funding get withheld from the city?
I think
Not
that
from the Housing
they.
Authority,
Yeah.
because it's a separate entity.
Right, but I think possibly from the schools there's a relationship there, but
Maybe.
I would be very surprised if our schools were not in compliance.
Who's our?
Me.
Well, because if they're not, how does that end up affecting our?
We'll just encourage them
to do it.
And some of it, you know, thinking especially about our facilities and about schools, even though existing buildings may be somewhat grandfathered based on whatever code was established when it was built, the goal here would be to make our buildings and our programs and our activities accessible. So that's why I mentioned the schools. I would just be surprised if they haven't gone above the minimum standard
because of IDEA.
to accommodate
I mean,
whatever
school
the needs
buildings,
are.
but like I went to their workshop and it's not.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, they got 20-something buildings.
And so this is something, kind of an issue that came up during the public meeting that we held, and I thought was a good point, is when we were doing the self-evaluation, you know, it's pretty objective. You're comparing it to a code requirement for a width or a height. I mean, and it's pretty objective. We meet it or we don't. But I would say, but in a practical sense, the reason for the grievance policy, the reason for an ADA coordinator is we want to hear from citizens who are experiencing difficulty accessing, and we're going to prioritize those comments and concerns above anything else. We're going to always work to make sure that whether it's moving a program, you know, out of one facility that isn't as easy to get into to another facility, we'll look at things that we can do. So it's not always a construction project, let's say,
right,
to make it more accessible.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
But yeah, I appreciate your time. Of course, we wanted to.
I made sure I didn't wear